Hi guys! Do you know what this week is? It is
Easter! Happy Easter to you! Happy Easter to you!
It's Easter time, so you know what that means. That means it's time for a very special, sit up, a very special story called Easter Promise. Ooh, this is gonna be a good one. Here we go. Try and make sure you can see the pages. Lazarus was sick. Mary and Martha knew that Jesus could make him well if he would only get there in time. But Lazarus died. Jesus was too late to help him. Or was he? Jesus could do things that no one else could do. And he brought Lazarus back to life. Lazarus' sisters were not the only ones who believed in Jesus. Many people wanted to follow Jesus, and that made the Pharisees mad. They didn't like Jesus. They wanted to stop him, no matter what. Jerem and Elizabeth didn't know anything about Jesus or the Pharisees. They liked to climb high in their favorite tree and watch people go by and dream about what they would be when they grew up. One day, they heard Roman guards marching by with a prisoner. "Soldiers!" Jerem shouted excitedly. Elizabeth felt sorry for the prisoner, but Jerem liked the soldiers' shiny armor and swords. He wanted to be a soldier someday. "Elizabeth, Jerem," called their mother. Elizabeth and Jerem slid down. Cousin Samuel and Uncle Jacob had come to visit. Uncle Jacob was excited. "A king is coming to Jerusalem, and he will be in need of some very special soldiers." "When is he coming?" Jerem wanted to know. "Tomorrow." "Samuel, come on," cried Jerem. "We do not have much time to make my armor for the king." The next day was the Passover holiday. Elizabeth and Samuel waited for Jerem. What was taking him so long? Jerem was putting on soldier clothes. Do you see that? He would guard the mighty king that Uncle Jacob had told him about. They heard the noise of an oncoming crowd and rushed up in their favorite tree for a better look. The crowd shouted, "The King of Kings has arrived!" "Where is he?" Jerem asked. "Where are his chariots and soldiers?" Then Jerem saw Jesus. He did not look like a king at all. He looked like a man riding a donkey. Jerem was disappointed. The soldiers laughed at Jesus. And they laughed at Jerem too. Samuel tried to explain. "Jesus is the king of all kings." But Jerem was mad. "I am taking this dumb armor off." Then Jerem slipped and fell. "Ah!" and he hit the ground hard. "Jerem!" Elizabeth cried. Jerem laid on the ground. Was he dead? Jesus knelt beside Jerem and touched him. "Get up, child. You're better now." And he was. "Leave me alone. I don't need your help," Jerem yelled at Jesus. "And stop laughing at me," he yelled at the soldiers. "Jesus is no king," he yelled at the crowd. Jerem was confused and upset. The Pharisees were watching Jerem. Later, they offered him a job. The Pharisees tricked Jerem into doing a mean thing. Jesus was chasing out thieves, but Jerem told everyone that Jesus was just tearing up the temple. The Pharisees were happy. They rewarded him with a shiny gold coin for what he did. Jerem walked away and climbed a tree. He could see and hear the Pharisees and Jesus. Jesus gave very smart answers to very hard questions. Uncle Jacob searched for Jerem and found him in a tree. "Always be careful with whom you trust," he warned. That night, Jerem had a scary dream. He woke up and ran outside. Elizabeth and Samuel followed him. "What if we're wrong about Jesus?" Jerem asked the Pharisees. But the Pharisees were too busy to bother with him. They were talking to another man who had a plan to trap Jesus. "Why do the Pharisees hate Jesus?" Jerem asked.
Maybe they're afraid of him,
said Elizabeth. "Maybe because he is who he says he is," said Samuel. "Come on, we have to find Jesus and warn him," Jerem said. Samuel, Elizabeth, and Jerem searched everywhere. When they found Jesus, he was eating the Passover meal with his friends, who were his disciples. But one of Jesus' friends, Judas, looked familiar. He was the stranger who had been talking with the Pharisees. Jesus did not need to be warned. He knew Judas would betray him. "Go," Jesus said to Judas. "Do what you must." And Judas left. Later, Jesus prayed in the garden while his friends slept. Soldiers came to the garden with Judas, and he walked boldly up to Jesus, and Judas kissed Jesus on the cheek. That was the signal. Then Jesus was taken to the Pharisee leaders. "Are you the Son of God?" "I am," Jesus answered truthfully. "Take him to Pilate." Pilate could free one prisoner, either Jesus, who was innocent of every crime, or a guilty man named Barabbas. Pilate was afraid to choose, so he let the people decide. "We choose Barabbas!" the people yelled. The soldiers put a crown of thorns on Jesus, and they beat him. They laughed at Jesus for thinking he was God's son. Then the soldiers hanged Jesus on a cross between two thieves. "Father, forgive them," Jesus prayed. "Into your hands I commit my spirit." The wind blew, the ground quaked, the earth cried out. Jesus was dead. The children were very sad. Jesus' followers wrapped his body in cloth and put his body in a tomb. His followers closed the entrance with a gigantic stone so no one would disturb Jesus' body. On the third day, the three children sat in a tree thinking about what had happened. "Angels! Angels!" A soldier bounded past them. "Angels?" The three children hurried to the tomb. The big stone had been rolled away. The children followed some women inside. Jesus was gone. "I know you are looking for Jesus, but he is not here," an angel said. "Jesus is risen from the dead." They ran through the streets. They knocked on all the doors. They shouted from the rooftops, "It is time to celebrate! It's time to celebrate! It's time to celebrate! Jesus has risen from the grave! He's alive! He's alive!" Look how excited they are. Later, Jesus appeared to the believers and said, "Preach the good news to everyone. Those who believe and are baptized will be saved. And be sure of this, I will be with you always." Then Jesus went up into heaven right before their eyes. "I believe your promises, Lord," said Jerem. "All of them." Wasn't that an awesome story? Let me tell you, that is not just a story. That is actually true, real life stuff. Jesus did come onto this earth. Jesus did have lots of friends, but Jesus did have lots of enemies too. And Jesus did die for the friends and the enemies. Jesus died for the whole wide world. But here's the thing, Jesus did not just die. Whoa, no, everybody can die. Here's the cool thing, Jesus came back alive on the third day. And that is the most important part we need to know. Jesus is alive right now in heaven, sitting up there with God. And he is waiting to come back. He will come back at just the perfect time. The thing is, are you ready to meet Jesus? Have you asked Jesus into your heart? Have you said, "Jesus, I believe you are God's son, that you came to this world and you died for me, a sinner. Please come into my heart and be with me forever. Change my life. Take away my sin. I want to trust in you." Have you done that? That is what Easter is all about. Trusting in Jesus and knowing that he came, he died, and he rose again on the third day, and he is living up in heaven right now. I hope you know, and I hope you have a blessed and happy Easter. Peace out.